Cool. Awesome. So it looks like we are live. So good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to this week's podcast. Today we're going to do an interview with one of our clients, Jeremy Foley. He's going to be talking about some of his successes that he's had, some of the challenges he's had while we've been working together. Just to make sure everything's working, if you can see and hear us okay, can you just let us know in the comments, give us a like, give us a comment, let us know that everything's working properly to make sure that you can see us before we dive in. And gents, you two speak as well, just to check your sound.
Yeah, hi, good morning, good afternoon. Look, we're here every Wednesday. We offer these free trainings, and often we talk about different techniques for generating leads and winning more business to get higher fees. And every now and then we like to get somebody in and interview them about their successes. And some of the successes that Jeremy's going to share with us are just kind of mind-blowing. So I'm really looking forward to this interview. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for joining us today.
Happy to be here. I thank you for setting the bar extra high and saying that they are mind-blowing successes. So no pressure there.
No, none whatsoever.
Awesome. So just for people who are just tuning in now, give us a sort of a brief overview of your background and what you do now.
So my overview is very simple. I've been in healthcare recruitment for over 14 years. I worked for the same firm for 13 and a half of those years, and eventually decided that I needed to branch out and start my own firm, which I did last September. And we are coming up a couple days away from my 8-month anniversary. So I'm excited about that. It's gone by very quick.
Awesome. Perfect. So what was it that I guess made you to decide to start your own firm in the first place?
I think a big part of it was always, I had a vision for where I wanted the firm to go and to grow. And my ex-partner was really kind of more on his way out while I was up and coming and more visionary, more driven than he was, as he's already achieved success and ready to retire. I was just getting started and wanted to take it to the next level. So we were on separate paths, which is totally okay. But, I couldn't wait any longer for him to make a decision, and decided to make my own decisions. So, and I can't deny, of course, that a part of that too is the financial benefit of being an owner and having access to all the purse strings rather than just a percentage of the house. So.
Yeah. And it's not just the financial side as well. It's also that element of freedom. It's your business. You decide who you work with. If you've got something else to do, it's okay because it's your business. I think they're all factors that influence people to go up on their own. So you made that well, I guess you made that decision well before September, but September.
Yes. Yeah. I think that decision mentally was at least 12 months before that. And I'd already kind of had some desire to do it many years before that even took place. But it was probably a year before I cut the cord that I was mentally ready to do it. Right. It's one thing to kind of, stew on it or think about it, but to actually take action, I think that's a big mindset shift and hurdle for a lot of people to say, okay, I'm ready to do this mentally, rather than just kind of more of a dream or a wish or a hope. But yeah, it did take another full year after that mental switch before I did take the leap, if you will.
Yeah, I think it would be worth taking time out to congratulate you and all those people that have gone up on their own, because I think it's fair to say that many people talk about one day I'm going to go off on my own. I know a lot of consultants right now who've been saying that for years. One guy springs to mind. He's been saying that to me for about 7 years. Next year it's going to be right for me, but many don't. And I'm saying this with love, Jeremy, because I'm also a business owner. I think when you make that decision, there's an element of insanity, because like you're leaving that security, you're going to hell with it. I'm just going to go for it. So so listen, well done on you on making that decision. So how's it been being first of all, just being your own boss?
It's not without its struggles, but I'm so happy I did it. And even the first few weeks, as I was just trying to get a grasp on everything, like you said, there was that sense of freedom and sense of unlimited potential, really. Like, hey, the world is my oyster, and I can go wherever I want to go. I can do whatever I want to do. And until you cut that safety line, you never really know what that is, right? But yeah, it's been a challenge. I'm not going to deny. And I read a lot of books. I watched podcasts and videos, and try to prepare myself. But you're never really prepared until you take the plunge. And I don't regret it one bit. So.
Awesome. So you had 14 years experience before so it's not the case that you're a rookie recruiter. You've got
right,
a wealth of experience, but you never run your own business before. And in terms
Correct.
of the market, you were in the healthcare. What's the sort of average salary that you would recruit at?
Sure. So the niche that we worked in previously, the average salary was probably somewhere in the 125 range. That's 125,000 US. The full spectrum is maybe 1 to 150, give or take.
And in your previous company, it's correct to say you worked predominantly on contingency?
We only work contingency. That's
you only
correct.
Work contingency, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And just out of interest, just on that, just the last question, John, I'll to you is, when you worked on contingency, what was your fill rate? What percentage of job roles that you worked on do you think you would fill?
Sure. So the company average over the 13 years that I was there, I believe the company average was somewhere around 32 to 34% fill rate. My personal fill rate for positions that I only worked on and weren't coming from the team or anything like that, basically job orders that I decided, hey, were worthy of my time and considerations, because I was a bit choosier than the house. Maybe a bad year would be a 60% fill rate. A high year would be somewhere around 75%. So it's a big difference there just between, reps that would let anything in and me. I was very choosy in where I spent my time. But, again, even on a good year, 25% of my deals I'm losing, and often not because of my inability, but because of external influences, right?
Yeah, but as a business, it was 70% of the jobs they were working on.
Right, exactly. If you look at the shop as a whole, on average, we only filled 30% of what we did. So
yeah, a waste of time. Yeah, really good point. Thanks, Jeremy. Over to you, Drew.
Yeah, I do want to sort of dig a bit deeper on that, and just sort of get what your thought process was from leaving contingency to going down the exclusive and retained route. But before sort of do that, I just want to, because you're perhaps like one of the newer businesses that tend to work with us. You were very early in your journey, so I just wanted to sort of get some insight in terms of what was your thinking. Why did you reach out to us? I guess what were your first of all, why did you reach out to us in the first place?
Well, I about a year before I left my shop, we started to have a decline in business. We were having very difficult time picking up new job orders. Now, again, that's as a shop, not as me personally, right? And it actually was probably maybe a two plus year trend. And I thought, okay, I've got to start to do some self-education and I felt like I was at the top of my game, but I thought, you know what, I can always be better. So let me start to hone and improve some of my skills. And again, I started doing research, came across some videos that you guys had posted, as well as some of your podcasts. And I was impressed with what I heard. And when I started my own firm, I knew that I needed as much consultation, coaching, and help that I could get from a variety of professional sources, but that I knew I was going to have other challenges, primarily in the marketing side, Drew. As I mentioned, I was already on a multi-year trend of reduced new business acquisition. And I thought, well, it's not going to be any easier when I'm on my own. So I better make sure that I'm doing everything perfect. So does that answer your question?
It does. And my sort of follow-on question is, what were your concerns about joining us? I mean, it's not, it's sort of a big leap of faith. You can watch podcasts, you can watch free content, but investing in yourself and your business in such an early stage, like most people don't. So I was keen to know what was your thought process behind that. making that leap?
Um, I mean, honestly, I think, it's not like I shopped you guys around and compared to other coaches or anything. I felt like what you guys were talking about was immediately, it seemed like it would make sense, the reality is I think most recruiters are pretty competent at the delivery process. Obviously everybody has a spectrum in which they're effective, but I think anybody has any amount of success probably knows how to deliver for a client, but is failing on the front end. They're failing to gain business. They're failing to gain good business and get preferable terms and conditions. I've experienced that in my own shop where we were literally all on the same model, and yet I had a higher close rate at higher fees with shorter time frames than a lot of my reps. And it's like, okay, well, why is that, right? Why am I outperforming 100 other people over the course of a decade when we're playing with the same tools, right? And I knew that all comes down to skill, training, and probably a little bit of passion or capability. And I felt like the program you guys offered was going to unlock additional tools for me to utilize that I didn't know existed. Obviously the reservations are always the return, right? Despite the cost, whether it's cheap or expensive or exactly what you think, there's always a fear of loss, right? A fear that you won't get what you want, that you're going to spend money with no real outcome or positive result. And obviously I have some fear, but I was willing to make the plunge into other more aggressive and controversial methods to get where I want to be, to achieve the success that I want to achieve. So to me, the reward outweighed the risk.
Okay. So sorry, Terry, you go.
I'm going to say, which is quite revealing about your personality, is that, here you are in an organization working on contingency, but you were outperforming your peers, delivering at 60%, but you still had what we call, well, some might say, it's a saying from a psychologist, it's called a growth mindset, in as much that you acknowledge at some level, I don't know it all, and there's more that I can learn, there's more that I can improve myself. So with that kind of mindset and that kind of thinking, it's almost inevitable that you're going to get better and better all the time, because you're constantly searching to improve yourself. So just that mindset alone stands you in good stead, and it's really apparent just listening to you. You're outperforming your peers, but you still want to outperform yourself and raise your own personal standards. And people often ask us, what's the difference? Why is it some people can do $1 million a year and then the guys are doing 100,000 a year? That's a massive factor there, and just in your thinking, Jeremy,
Sure.
that you're open to the possibility that there's more out there and you can achieve more. Because we often talk to recruiters and they say, hell, I've got 20 years experience, what can you teach me? And I say, not a thing, actually, with that attitude, not a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, great example there. Thanks for sharing that, Jeremy.
Sure.
Just on that point, Jeremy. So you've said that when you're working for another firm, your fill rate on job orders was around 60%. Sometimes 70%, which is way above what we, what I see, what Terry sees from the majority of recruiters in any space, really. To me, like 40% is above average. Why did you? So you know that you had a higher fill rate than most. Why did you, I guess, decide to make the shift to go from the contingency model that you were using that was more successful than most people around you, to shift from that to going down the exclusive or retained route? What was it for you that sort of, you thought that's what I'm going to do?
Sure. No, I think that's a great question. And as you guys know, when I started in September, day one, I was, right back into contingent mode, right? Just picking up where I left off. And I, to be honest, I didn't even really consider like, hey, I should be going after retainers or exclusives, or I didn't think there was any reason to change what I had such success on. But to answer your question, why exclusive, why retained, is quite simply all the failures that I've had. I mean, I've lost over 1,000 deals in my career, Yeah. I mean, it's a huge amount, right? What if I could have captured 10% of those, 100 placements, right? At an average $30,000 fee, right? What if I'd captured 25% of those somehow, 50%? And it just, you stop and think, well, why am I doing that? And again, the vast majority of those times, we were still delivering on those searches. So it wasn't a lack of capability that prevented me from being successful. It was the client, right? And so I knew that with a retained and with an exclusive term that I would reduce my risk and exposure. Let me be very simple, guys. I didn't want to waste my time. I didn't want to waste my effort. I didn't want to waste my energy pursuing clients that I couldn't get something from, plain and simple.
Yeah.
I've done it too many times. I've experienced it's not worth it. Life's short,
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I think, when you own your own business, you have to look out for yourself. You have to do things. Well, it's not even just yourself, is it? It's just your family as well. You're looking at the financials of the 1,000 deals that you've lost in your career, but look at the time that could have been spent with people you care about, and that's for me why I always sort of have a big. We're really passionate about the exclusive and retained route for that reason. It's yes, the financials, but also the time spent, and also I think from a delivery point of view, to hit the revenue number that you want to hit on contingency when you've got, let's say your fill rate's 50%, you have to take on double the amount of work. Every time you take on another job order, you've only got a certain number of hours in the day, so you're spending less time with each one of your roles that you have on. So the quality of your service actually drops as well, which I think, from a client's point of view, it's better to go exclusive or retain from obviously you as a recruiter. It's better to go. I think it's win-win all around for me. So yeah, it's good to hear that.
I'm making a note of that because that's a great line. It's so true.
you see at the moment, and this is not to criticize anybody. There's the market at the moment. There's lots of roles out there, and I'm seeing recruiters post on Facebook, post everywhere. Look, I've got too many roles. Can someone do a split fee, which is they're well entitled to do, but you look at it and it's like suddenly that client who's trusted that recruiter has now having to give trust to somebody they've never met and haven't given the role to. So I think from a client point of view, you can control the quality of service that the client gets when it's on that exclusive or retained point of view. Terry, anything you'd add to that?
I think the other thing you've touched on time, and people say, well, but it's just time. And the thing with time, if you waste the time, you can never ever get it back. All those thousands of assignments that you worked on, Jeremy, that you never got paid for, you'll never get that time back. Added to which, one of the advantages of retained or certainly exclusive is all you're saying is to the hiring manager, I'm happy to work for you if you're prepared to pay me. There's nothing unreasonable in that request. It seems quite fair, really. I do some work for you, you pay me. Does that seem fair? Now, sure, there are some hiring managers that say, no, I'd rather if you did all the work, and if you don't succeed, I'm not going to pay you. And look, doesn't mean they're wrong. They're entitled to that opinion. Here's the key thing, though, Jeremy, that you decided. And by the way, it was a decision that you made that made this change. You made a decision. Not with me, you won't. It's okay for you to do that. You said yourself, you no longer want to waste your time. Yeah. But that's where the breakthrough comes when you say, that's it. I've made a decision. I don't do that anymore. And as Drew rightly said, there's so many recruiters out there right now who are swamped with job orders, more than they can handle. And the only person that's suffering is the client and the candidate, because the recruiter's not going to deliver. The majority of contingent recruiters won't fill most of the roles they're working on. Who's that serving?
Yeah, nobody.
Just something you mentioned then, and one of the reasons I was really keen to sort of get you on an interview and pick your brains is you mentioned you talked about your fees, right? And again, this is even before you were working with us, you were charging a lot more than a lot of the people around you were charging. So talk to us, I guess, about that. How do you position yourself to charge higher fees? How do you communicate to the client that, yes, you can go down the road to recruiter B and get it for half the fee, but, here's why you should work with us. How are you framing that? One in your mind, but also to the client as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's very simple. I immediately worked on developing a connection with the client. And I remember in my early days when I had no idea what I was doing, no idea what I was talking about. I mean, I'm just, completely as green as can be. But I had an ability to connect with people over the phone. And so I leveraged that And I found out very early on that a lot of the clients that I encountered had very poor experiences with other recruiters. And so I got to hear kind of all the horror stories about what went on in the market, right? Clients getting poorly qualified candidates that had never been talked to or screened, and recruiters that were unprofessional or pushy, or didn't even understand what the hell they were selling or promoting. And I thought, well, this is easy. As long as I can build my skills and where they need, then I'm going to be effective. But before I did that, I just told them what they wanted to hear, which is, hey, I'm going to take care of you. All these experiences that you've had in the past, we're going to do it differently. And we did. And so, over time, it just became, obviously there's always a bit of confidence after you've had success. But, I think regardless of that, if I was to say start into a new, you guys know I've already started in some new niches anyways, but if I was to jump out of healthcare into like IT or, professional services or something of that ilk, I would be starting from scratch. And my immediate focus would be developing rapport with the clients, getting a true understanding of comprehension of what their needs are, and then building value off of that. Because at the end of the day, the clients just want to know that you truly understand who they are and what they need, and you're not just trying to self-promote or brag or cram something down their throat. They don't want that. They don't need that. They don't really care about that. They want to know that, hey, are you listening to me? Right? Do you understand what I'm saying about why we have a need and what we don't want? Because we've already got what we don't want. We need what we do want, right? And I think a lot of recruiters kind of miss that mark. So, at the end of the day, the reason I got higher fees was my ability to develop value and sell that value to clients.
Good for you.
Thank
Good for you.
So, I'm going to say, just for contrast, like, what were you charging in comparison to people in your firm and the industry as a whole?
Sure. Well, I basically managed all the contracts at my last firm. So there was maybe 8 to 10 people out of 100 plus that actually got to the point where I would let them negotiate contracts on their own, right? Our standard fee was 30%. Most of the guys were doing 20%, or maybe an equivalent flat fee of 20%. I had one guy who was probably the next best behind me, but he was still, miles below me. But, he could get 25% pretty easily. But, my average was like 30, right? Very rarely did I not get 30%. Very rarely did I not push the client above and beyond what they told me their maximum was. Oh, Jeremy, we'll never pay more than 20%. Boom, I got 25% out of them, right? Or, we're not paying anybody over 15K. Boom, I get 25K out of them. So the industry standard was probably right around that 15 to 18K mark as an average. And our fees routinely were around the low $30,000 mark. So just about double. On the high end, for positions that paid in the 150 range, if we're doing 30% of 150, that's 45,000. And there are a lot of big shops out there, guys that do millions of dollars a year, that would hop on that same search that I'm getting 45 for, and they're going to get 20, 18, 15, maybe 12, I mean, that's not even unheard of. There's guys out there charging 10K for this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and you're charging more and getting it on retained or exclusive as well. So you guaranteed the payment.
That was purely contingent. Now I'm doing even more on retainer. So
okay, talk to us about how you've increased your fees and like now sort of since joining the program.
Sure. Well, the easy way to increase your fees is increase your fee percentage. And I have to give credit where credit is due. You guys pushed me into that, and it wasn't that you pushed me, but you showed me that it really wasn't a big deal. It wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be, that I can ask for what I want. So now I'm at 33%. I'm at fully retained. Well, I guess maybe not fully retained since it's broken up into 3 payments, but I am getting a substantial amount of money up front, 1/3 of the total fee at 33% of whatever. and exclusive with cancellation for a multitude of reasons. So worst case scenario, I'm almost always going to walk away with, two stages of fee, the initiation and the next stage. So, and that was kind of the goal is, I think there's still a lot of people that are maybe doing a small retainer up front of a few grand, 5 grand, 10 grand, maybe at the top end. And that's maybe all they're going to walk away with, where I'm getting 30 or 40 up front, plus the next stage is another 30 or 40K. And I'm still not having to even make a hire. I'm just saying, hey, we're going to get close. But if you, Mr. Employer, drop the ball or do something else, then I can't be responsible for that. And I need to recoup my investment. So.
That's awesome, that is. And look, if you're listening to this right now and you're saying something like this, yeah, but it's okay for Jeremy. And by the way, people in Europe are saying, yeah, but the Americans can do that. The Americans will be having a different reason. But here's something to consider, by the way. As you're listening to this right now, do you know recruiters right now who are charging less than you? Because the answer is always yeah. So clearly you're not the cheapest recruiter right now. So clearly your clients that you're working right now, you acknowledge at some level intellectually are prepared to pay you more than they're paying the cheapest recruiter. So already that gets rid of that, yeah, but my clients buy on price alone, because frankly, that's BS. And one of the things that you're probably getting from Jeremy, two things coming across really strong with Jeremy. What Jeremy's saying at some level, that's what I'm worth. Of course, you can get it cheaper down the road. You can get it for 15%. But if you qualify to work with me, that's what I'm actually worth. And I've said this on many occasions, and some people get upset about this, but it is worth considering. Whatever fee you're charging right now is merely a reflection of your own personal self-worth, because you can't charge more than you believe you're worth. So if you're listening to this right now and Jeremy making you feel uncomfortable, he's charging 33% and he's getting fees of 40, 50,000, and it's creating any discomfort in you. Honestly, you need to look in the mirror, because it's saying more about you than what Jeremy's doing. Because all Jeremy's done is made a different choice. That's all it is. And you just need to be aware, if you're that kind of thinking, sadly, and I'm not having to go at you here, it's probably holding you back. If you don't think you can do what Jeremy's doing, and you believe that your clients won't pay more than 15% or whatever, because whatever you believe, by the way, is true. Whatever you believe is true. And we might cover this a bit later. I don't know if you want to do this now, Joe, but Jeremy's charging higher fees, and we had a conversation in one of our coaching sessions not that long ago, a month ago. We were talking about expenses and charging client expenses. Again, if you're listening to it and thinking, what? He charges 33% and he charges expenses, but yeah, but so do the big firms. So do Hydrix and Korn Ferry. Why not you? See, that was a question that Jeremy asked in the coaching call. Well, if those guys are doing it, why can't I do it? But what a healthy conversation to be having with yourself. And I don't know if you've worked out the numbers of what you charging expenses, what that's going to be worth to you.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's in there. I'm billing. So
yeah.
So Jeremy, again, are you okay to talk about I think last week you posted about a big deal you won in the client Facebook group. Are you okay to talk about that here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, man. So yeah, tell us about that. So it was you're working on it for a long while, and then last week you got them to sign. So tell us a bit about that.
Sure. Well, it wasn't that I've been working on it a long while. I've been in communication with the client for a while, because I knew that this was inevitable, right? In January, we had a triage call, if you will. And he told me, he says, we've got our orthopedic service line contracted out to a third party, right? An independent group. They're just coming in and kind of providing services. And he said, they do a good job, but they don't have any incentive to help us grow the program. And we're missing 87% of the market in their area. I mean, that's insane. I mean, the growth potential for that is huge. So I said, Tim, kick them out the door. Why are you using these guys? He says, well, I want to. Our contract's up at the end of the year, and this is in January. So it's basically 12 months away. And I thought, well, why are you waiting? And he says, well, I don't have to wait as long as I give him 90 days. And I said, well, let's do that, because I will come in and I will backfill those openings for you but you got to kick him out. And he says, okay. So that all has kind of been playing out right up until the beginning of April. They had a meeting with the board and they're ready to do it. So, they're making these judgments and these decisions based on, my potential capability to fill it. So obviously I have a huge responsibility, but it took a month to hash out the contract, Drew. As you know, I'm doing everything I can to maximize my return for my work, including, upfront retainers, exclusivity, et cetera. And, as a small to medium-sized facility, I didn't expect much pushback, but, the compliance officer had to get involved on some of the language, but, I didn't make any big changes. I think I got rid of one indemnity clause and that's it. So, they recognize that I'm going to deliver and they were willing to play ball. So that contract did come in last week, and that is for 2 searches. One search is a minimum of $120,000 based on the base salary alone. Now the fee is calculated on total taxable income. So you've got not only the base salary, but we've got any productivity bonus that's projected. We've got sign-on bonuses. We've got relocation expenses and anything else that's thrown into the pot the first year. Now, I already know that about 6 months ago, they offered somebody $1 million a year for this position. So we've got a potential package that's worth at least $1 million. 20% of that, of course, is $200,000. Now they have 2 openings. So there's an opportunity here to double that to $400K in total for the 2 searches. But we step back, if we're just looking at, kind of bare minimum, the retainer is broken up into 3 payments. The first payment is 1/3 of the total fee. In this case, it's actually 20%. So 20% of $650,000, because the base salary is $650K, right? 20% of that is $43,333. So the initial retainer for one of those openings is $43,000. Again, they do have 2 needs, so we are recruiting on 2 positions. So the total upfront, the total upfront retainer for this client is $86,666 and 66 cents.
Beautiful.
Okay, Jeremy, can you just repeat that, please? Let me ask you the question. I can't wait to read it. That's one hell of a mug you got there, by the way. But anyway,
it's like I got to stay hydrated.
Like a lake. Yeah.
Close.
What's the first stage fee worth to you? Can you just repeat to me what the first stage fee is worth?
The first stage fee is $43,000 and change.
$43,000 each roll.
Yeah.
And there's 2 rolls.
That's correct.
So this first stage fee is $86,000.
Correct.
Yeah. And then you do that in 3 stages.
Yep. So the second stage is upon presentation of a short list. So once we have a minimum of 2 candidates that the client feels is worthy of consideration in an interview, we will invoice for the second stage, which is another 43.
So
and obviously, as soon as I get 4 candidates, that to me, that's 2 times 2, that's 4. I'm going to bill for both second stage fees. So that's another $86K upon presentation.
And then the balance upon offer and acceptance.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we're looking at is, we're looking at, I haven't really done the math, 86 times 2, that's 180, that's 174K, I think. Is that right? Somewhere ish.
Yeah.
Just to get to the second stage. And as I've told you, with $1 million packages, that means the final stage fee, again, this is assuming 2 placements here, but the final stage placement fee for that would be $230K for both deals.
Each, yeah.
No, total. It would be no, you're right, Drew. No, that would be 130 a pop.
Right, yeah.
Because we're talking about $400K for both of them, which is
so let's just do something here. Assuming all goes well and you place both candidates, what would that be worth to you, Jeremy?
400. I mean, again, if we're talking bare minimum, right? If somehow the package is capped at 650K times 2, right? Which is not going to happen. We know that's it's going to be well over that. But bare minimum, right? That's 1.3 million in salary times 20%, which is $260,000.
So worst case scenario, it's 260,000.
Yeah.
No, that's not actually, that's the best case. Worst case scenario, if they pull the plug tomorrow,
Oh, right.
and
Yeah.
say, we'll
Sure.
put it on hold, can you bear with us for another 10 years or so? You go, yeah, sure. you still got a fee of 120,000.
Yeah. Because they're going to,
Is that right?
I think, no, it would be more than that, because they're going to get billed the second stage fee for canceling.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is that. Anybody that's working on contingency, if you wonder why we advocate, just listen to those numbers. Worst case scenario, if they pull the plug on Jeremy, Jeremy's still going to get paid a substantial amount.
172K.
172,000 if they pull the plug on this assignment.
Correct.
Just want you to think about it. And so you said earlier that you kind of just said it in passing, and some people are thinking, what? But you talked about the triage call. And just to explain that for those that don't know, in part of the coaching program, one of the things we advocate is that rather than speaking to a hiring manager and pitching your service and how great you are and how long you've been in business and what your mission statement is, there's a technique called the triage call, where you simply have a conversation with a potential hiring manager. You don't sell anything. You simply ask a load of questions to establish what they're looking for and whether they actually qualify to work with you. See, the problem that majority of recruiters have is that they get on the call with the hiring manager and say, yeah, we've been in business for 20 years and this is what we do, and without actually knowing what the hiring manager is looking for. And that's why so many recruiters miss the boat. That's why so many recruiters can't get a retainer, because they don't know that it's about asking the right questions. So Jeremy gets on a call or conversation and simply asks the right question. And he's finding out what needs to be done for the client to qualify to work with him, and for Jeremy to agree to work with that client. That's all about asking the right questions. And that's a pre-sales call. It's called a triage call, one of the things that we coach on. But that's how you're going to get retainers. That's how you're going to get the kind of fees that Jeremy's called. You can't cold call somebody to get that kind of deal. Let's absolutely clear about that.
No, that's not a one call close.
Yeah.
No.
Jeremy, again, we spoke a lot about your sales process and the delivery, and you going to retain. I wanted to spend some time talking about what you do from a business development point of view, how you market your business. I know that's changed quite a lot. So can you give us like a brief overview of what you did before at your old firm, and then I guess we'll look at what you do now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's really simple, Drew. Before, it was literally cold calling. That's it. You pick up the phone, you call somebody, you introduce yourself. Hey, this is Jeremy Foley, PX3 Medical, and we do XYZ. Are you ready to do a deal? Right.
Yeah.
In essence, that's what you're doing. Is your introduction is everything. Right. And then you're trying to build trust and value and capability and potential and all this stuff on initial call. And I'm not going to say it's impossible. You're not making it any easy on yourself. Yeah, and again, how many calls can you make in a day?
Exactly.
How many people do you actually talk to in a day? 10? 5?
It was, again, I'm sort of keen to stress, like, I've never said cold calling doesn't work, because it does. I mean, you've done well with cold calling.
Sure.
But I guess from your point of view, you just felt like you could be more efficient with your time in terms of the business development. Is that right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if I've even had a chance to tell you guys this, but since I've been on the Apex program and have done all these extra things, which I knew there was, again, that was a reason I signed up with you guys. It was like, listen, I know there's a better way than cold calling. This can't be it. It's not effective. What tools am I missing? What techniques am I missing? And I wasn't looking for a magic solution, because I knew there was probably a bevy of options that I just didn't even know existed, which was true, right? And man, now since implementing all these tools, the cold calls, if you will, the calls that I have are easy. Listen, one of the reasons that I was good at what I did in the past, even on contingent, was my conversion ratio was super high. I could sell anybody. Everybody wanted to work with me. Now, there might be an issue with the fee. Maybe they literally couldn't pay more than 10%. Well, that's fine. They weren't qualified to work with us, but they wanted to work with us. They wanted to work with me, and so, I already had the raw skills of converting people, but I'll tell you what, that took a lot of skill. That took a lot of, man, I felt like I was having to paint a masterpiece on every call. I know that sounds weird, but it took a lot of effort and it took a lot of energy to get these people converted. And now it's like, I just pick up the phone. No, most of them are Zoom calls, but you get on the call and they're like, hey, we're ready to buy. And I'm like, I haven't even said anything. I'm like, I mean, honestly, it's so much easier, and it clicked the other day. I mean, it was like 6 weeks ago, and I was like, oh my God, like that's what they've been getting at this whole time. Is it's not that all of a sudden business is going to start pouring in from all corners of the world, but the connections that you make are so much stronger and the conversions are so much easier. I mean, these are the easiest calls I've had in 14 years of doing this. I've had tens of thousands of triage calls in my career. I averaged 2 to 5 triage calls a day at my last shop.
Yeah.
A day. Okay. I've had a lot of calls. None of them have ever been this easy. So.
Okay.
So the easiest calls in 14 years of recruitment from the program. Yeah, that's great to hear. And again, by following the process that we share with you, you don't cold call. You're calling people that know who you are, and as you're listening, just think about it. What would it mean to you if you were calling people who knew who you were, and when you give your name, they go, "Oh, hi, yeah, I know who you are, and I know what you do. Let's talk." Because now what's going to happen is the client's going to buy from you rather than you trying to sell to them. Massive difference.
Well, you guys, I wanted to comment on this earlier. You asked me why I jumped from contingency to retained, right? I'll be honest, there was another motive there, and it was respect. It was professional courtesy, okay? I realized many, many years ago that working contingent meant that you were also kind of like the disposable resource or expendable resource for the client. They didn't care, right? They were happy to let you go, right? Oh, well, sorry, we just hired somebody yesterday. I know that you just signed a contract with us and spent thousands of dollars on advertising, but tough luck, right? There was no mutual respect. There was no relationship there, really, and I think that's what it boils down to. But for those of you that have felt that slap in the face, right? You're going, why would I ever want to do that again? Why would I ever want to subject myself to that type of abuse, right? And so when I knew there was an opportunity to get away from that, where I would have a true working relationship with the client, why wouldn't I do that, right? I mean, who wants to be disrespected professionally? I don't. I'm too damn good. I've worked far too long to let somebody, throw me aside like a piece of trash. And that happened after I started my own business. I had 6 searches like within a couple weeks, and 4 of the 6 cratered because the clients were temperamental. And I'm like, that's it. That's never again. So
it's interesting. It often takes something like that painful experience where you go, enough already, never again. Yeah.
So
like again, like we spoke about, what you're doing before, your journey within the program. Is it okay to talk about some of the challenges that you've had while we've been working together? Because
sure.
I think, sometimes when you see in client interviews like this, and this is not criticizing anyone. Obviously, you hear all the sunshine and rainbows, right? All the good stuff, right? But I remember sort of early on, you having a conversation with Terry, a difficult conversation with Terry, and I think I spoke to you the next day. And I was like, "Yeah, how are things going?" You just said, "I'm really, really frustrated."
Yeah.
And you were sort of really frustrated with yourself. So, can you tell us a bit about that and some of the challenges you had as well?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I have had a lot of challenges, and there was a big challenge in making the conversion from, contingent to retained. And, I think, I don't want to say it was mental, because I was willing to do it, right? But it was like I think Terry, you mentioned earlier, it's the belief, right? The belief that you, 1, can do it, the belief that 2, you're worth it, and the belief that the clients are also going to feel that you're worth it. And the same thing goes for fees, right? If you think that you're only worth 10% and that's all the clients are going to agree to, and that's all they feel you're worth, then you're never going to get more than 10%. So, it's like, I jumped out of the plane skydiving, and I just hoped the parachute would work versus being confident the parachute would work. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like being pushed out of the plane versus diving voluntarily. I got pushed out of the plane and I'm like, all right, well, here goes. Hopefully this ripcord's going to work. But, you know, once you realize it does, you're like, let's go again. You know, I'm ready. Now I'm confident. I don't need to be pushed out of the plane. I'm ready to make the leap myself. So I think some of those early struggles were a lot of that was, you know, finding the confidence that, you know, these changes were going to work. People, I say it's people. I mean, it's really true. People would accept me and would accept what I'm going for, right? That I am worth it, and they would find value in that. So, you know, besides that, as far as, you know, generic struggles, you know, trying to manage all the different things I'd never done before, all the different marketing campaigns, getting those up and running, things like, you know, doing little video calls for, or, you know, video productions for LinkedIn. You know, I remember I threw one up a couple of weeks ago, and I just talked to people like this, and I said, hey, here's what's going on. I had a death in the family. It's taken me away from the business. I've got a lot of business coming in. Things are really good here. They're really busy. And I apologize to my audience. And I said, I'm sorry, I haven't produced any content lately. You know, that had a ton of engagement on it just by having that quick little 2-minute note. And you know, I was probably just here in the office with a casual type shirt on. People love that type of stuff. And in the presentations themselves, when I'm, you know, going over best practices or whatever it might be, you know, again, not thinking that needs to be some giant Hollywood production, and just get the thing out there, right? Don't worry about criticizing yourself or trying to achieve some form of perfection. And that video content for me was a big hurdle in getting started, right? And just getting it done. But once I did, it was like, well, this is easy. Why am I holding back on all these other things I can be doing, right? All these other methods that you guys give us. It's like, well, okay, don't wait anymore. Just do it, right? And perfect it along the way. Just like my very first retainer pitch was not pretty. It was like, well, it came off very amateurish, right? Which, you know, that's okay, but the deal got done. And then the next one was a little easier, and the next one was a little easier, and, you know, now it's not a big deal at all. So
how did it feel?
Yeah, I think one of the things,
Sorry,
I was going to say, yeah, just you know, you've been very honest there about some of your bloopers, and you actually shared a video of some of your bloopers with your recording, which is hilarious. But again, I thought it was great because you're saying, this is who I am, warts and all. Like sometimes I have trouble stringing two words together.
Sure.
But it was great to see, and it's authentic is what it's all about, and people relate to that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm just curious, like how it felt, like when you secured your first retainer, like how did it? Obviously, I know you went into the call or the meeting sort of slightly apprehensive, and you said yourself you sort of butchered the process itself. How did it feel when you actually got the yes and got it over the line?
Yeah, man, it felt great. It was, you know, we were running into some cash flow issues anyways. And, you know, even though I can churn out a deal in 2 to 4 weeks, excuse me, you know, that invoice is not immediate, right? And that invoice was still only partial. So it was great from a cash flow perspective, but to find out that it wasn't going to be this gargantuan effort to get it done even. And, you know, so that very first retainer actually was $20K up front, which I thought already was like huge. Like, who gets 20 grand up front? Like, I'm going to have to go like fly out there, you know, wine and dine these people, kiss ass, right? And just like ultimate sales mode for a whole day. Maybe I can get 10 grand, right? Maybe. And here I am, you know, over the phone. Yeah, 20 grand's fine. We'll get the invoice processed immediately. It's like, okay, well, that was too easy. So obviously I can ask for more. Yeah.
Awesome. What a journey. Absolutely fantastic. And I've got to say, Jeremy, so inspiration as well for people listening. Here's a guy, 8 months ago, you were doing contingent. 8 months ago. And let me put this into perspective. How soon after joining the program did you win your first retainer?
So I think well, to be frank, I didn't even attempt the retainers until February, maybe even mid-February. I think it was like, okay, you know, I'm ready, right? It took me too long to get ready, but I was ready finally. And that's not y'all's fault. That's me. That was all on me. I just, you know, I should have just done it from day one. But mid-February, I think it was when we started to roll out that new contract. I say we, it was basically just me, but the first week of March, we got that first 20K deal and 20K retainer. So it took 2 weeks to close the first one.
Yeah. When you made the decision to ask for retain, again, this is all about, you know, everything where we are right now is just based on the decisions that we make. And you made a decision in February. To hell with this. I'm going to start getting retainers.
Yeah.
You get retainers. 20,000 when you made that decision. Awesome. Absolutely fantastic. Jeremy, I'm just blown away. And it's just been so inspirational. It's absolutely so inspirational. I'm gonna.
It's made me put our prices up.
Yeah.
I don't know what you like
for Jeremy.
Yeah, what are you waiting for? Get on it. No, I want to tell you guys a quick story. So I spoke to a lady on Friday. She is a managing partner for a firm here in Texas that is world renowned for coaching other recruitment firms, and they are, you know, one of the best here in the U.S. I know they have an international presence too, and I'm not going to name names, but I worked with them briefly at the last firm, but they basically did training for my team, so they weren't really doing a lot with me, but they introduced me to a couple of new concepts, some of which you guys have touched on, but I don't think they had the comprehension that you guys had, nor did they go as in depth as you have. But anyways, so I talked to her, and I was talking to her about getting the service fee into my contract because I wanted to borrow some language from them because I know they do a lot of executive search where that's common. And I'm not doing much executive search. It's one of our offerings, but it's a low percentage of our inventory. You know, we're typically doing physicians and the like. But you know, when Terry, when you first introduced it to me on that group call, I thought exactly what you said. Why can't I do that? Why it would be silly for me not to go after service fees, right? If somebody else is doing it, that means I can do it too. So she told me, she's like, yeah, you can do that, but you know, it's not normal. And, you know, unless you're trying to be like the big shops like Korn Ferry and, you know, rattles off the top 5 executive search firms in the country. And I said, well, actually, I am trying to be like those guys. And she's like, well, more power to you. But it was interesting from somebody who's got 20 years in the industry. She even had the mindset, like, almost like, how dare you go after that, right? Like it was a faux pas. Like, give me a break. You know, I'll do whatever I want. But I thought that, and I meant to post it in the group, but I thought that was so interesting from somebody who has seen the spectrum of contingent, exclusive, retained type arrangements, who knows what the market can do, who knows what the market's capable of. This firm already has a huge reputation. They do $100 million a year. This is not a small shop, okay? Yeah. And she even was hesitant to say, yeah, you should go ahead and do that. She's like, only if you want to be some big Korn Ferry or other type executive firm should you pursue that. And I thought, it's really kind of a limited mindset there. And again, it was just really shocked me that she made that comment.
Yeah, I think again, like, I'm not going to criticize anybody, but I think it's difficult when you're helping people to not let your own limiting beliefs get in the way, and I think that's all that's happened there. But yeah, I think, you know, when I look at other firms doing something, like, my view is like, if they can do it, like, so can you. Like, we, again, not to name names, but we spoke to people at Korn Ferry and all the big firms. Like, I know that you and the people in our programs are just as good, if not better, at what you do than they are. So it's like, why wouldn't you charge the same or more? Why wouldn't you do on the same terms or more? And it's just, again, like you said in the beginning, it's all about your mindset and your self-image. And I guess, yeah, putting that into your business, which I think, you know, in fairness to you, yes, you might be frustrated with how long it took you to do the retainer, but, you know, I would say that you've took it on fully. Like, you spent a lot of, we spent the other week, you spent a lot of time looking at your contract just to make sure you're getting what you deserve.
Oh yeah, I think I've gone through at least a dozen revisions already since I seriously, I bet it's been a dozen. And then I just now added the monthly service fee on top of that. So, and that was
Good
a
for
couple of
you.
revisions in itself. But
And just a point on that, the service fee, that's all going on your bottom line. That's 100% profit.
It's going to pay for my new office.
And look, just again, for people with the discomfort and all that's been said here, ultimately, you're in business to make as much money as possible, as quickly as possible, as long as it's legally and morally right to do so. And Jeremy's just doing what he set in business to do. No more, no less. If you've got any discomfort about Jeremy making as much money as he's making, again, you need to look at what's going on inside you, because it's your stuff rather than anybody else's. And other people who'll be thinking, that's fantastic, and how can I do it? And the answer to that is just make the decision. That's what you're going to do. It really is as simple as that. It's when you make that decision, you said, this is who we are. This is what we're going to do. We'll only work on retain. We'll have a service charge. We'll only work on minimum fees of 20, 30,000. When you decide to. Jeremy, I can't thank you enough. And as I said, not only has it been enlightening, but I think so many people listening to this will find this truly inspirational, that you came from literally 100% contingency 8 months ago. When you made the decision, you said, no, this is what I do. And now you're getting fees of, 400,000 or 500,000 is just absolutely fantastic and an inspiration to any recruiter, regardless of what level you're working at.
Thank you.
So thank you very much indeed, Jeremy, for joining us today. Drew,
My
I guess
pleasure.
it goes without saying, thank you. We're here every Wednesday at, I have to think about this, 3 o'clock UK time, or whatever time it is anywhere else in the world. And our sole aim is to help you grow your business, to help you get more business and work with more hiring managers and increase your personal earnings. These trainers are absolutely free. If you've enjoyed them, share them with your friends. If you didn't enjoy them, his name's Jeremy Foley. You know where to contact him.
Yeah.
Seriously, thank you very much indeed. Until next time, folks, take care, take action, and be relentless. Cheers, folks.